This is my Aston Martin DB9, and this is the engine from my Aston Martin DB9. And to those who've been watching the build, you'll know I've removed this as the engine is seized and needs rebuilding. Bought it from Copart as a flooded car, but in truth, I've seen no evidence of this, and it's more than likely just an insurance job. Regardless, I'm now the owner of this DB9, so it's up to me to get this car back on the road. So let's not waste time, let's get this engine on the stand. And before we get into it, a massive shout out from one of my subscribers. I'm not sure he wants to be named, so I won't, just in case he's not supposed to give stuff like this away, but he's a former Aston Martin specialist, and he's given me this overall to wear. I'm not gonna wear it today because I think it's gonna be quite a dirty one, and I don't wanna get this dirty just yet. We'll use this when we're putting the car back together. But yeah, thank you so much, mate. Take care. Thank you so much again for that. To anyone else trying to reach me about any inquiries or the like, I'm best reached on my Instagram account. It's Alex Baldwin. I've been overwhelmed by the number of you reaching out to me on there, and I'm sure together we'll get this car back on the road in no time. Now, of course, I've never mounted an engine to a stand before, but in hindsight, I think it would have been better to remove the flywheel beforehand, but we live and we learn for next time. Okay, engine is in position. That took a bit of time to work out, but I think I got there in the end, and it seems, well, like it's on there okay. I need to take off the exhaust manifolds now, just so I can spin this engine, because otherwise this is just gonna catch on here. But yeah, we can continue stripping down this engine now, which is pretty cool. I think we've got our power steering here. I can remove all that. Just got a bit better access now, so I'll do this all now. So then basically just left with the block, the heads, etc. And just a side note, whilst I remember, this has a broken wire. It was already like this when I was stripping it down. As you can see, someone's been messing around with some tape. I don't know what on earth that plug is or what it's for. So if you know at home what that's for, I have no idea. Please, can you let me know down in the comments below so I can get a replacement? Because yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be quite important, probably. I thought this would be a simple process of removing the bolts from the heat shield and taking it off, but with this brutal duo of old Aston and rust, I should have known better. Okay, well, first issue, a lot of these are rusted out. They are size 8s, because I can show you with a 7. They don't fit. So we'll just focus on it. You can just see, yeah, they're pretty rounded off. So I was able to get one screw out, but the rest I eventually had to cut out. It's a bit annoying as it's another part I now have to replace, but thankfully they don't cost too much secondhand. I can now remove the exhaust manifold, and some bolts were pretty awkward to get at, but I did manage. Next up is removing the pulleys from the front of the engine, such as the power steering pump. can see here, I thought the crankshaft pulley would just slide off like the rest of the pulleys, but it wouldn't budge. I had a hand from James from Allwood Engineering for this off camera, so big thanks to him. If you're based in Surrey, I've used this company for years and would thoroughly recommend them for any work on your cars. At this point, I'm removing all the bolts connecting the timing case to the engine, and this includes a couple of bolts underneath that attach it to the oil sump. However, I spotted something which I thought was a bit odd. Right, well, I'm no genius, but I'm pretty sure these green markings are meant to be lined up to that bit of the belt. I believe, you see how it goes halfway through this little clip here? I believe that is supposed to be there for it to be correctly timed up. Same story here, you can see it off down there and on the other side as well. I don't think you can actually see this one, or maybe just down there, just in there. Again, not on the correct timing, and then that needs to go there. Let me know if I've missed something here that would explain why this has happened, but I think bad timing could have been a catalyst for the engine going bang. Because I've never taken an engine apart, I'm being sure to make sure all bolts are marked up to go back in the exact same hole. For instance, these camshaft bearings, I'm putting into some Tupperware and marking up which order they came out in. I then repeated the process for the second camshaft, followed by the two on the other side. I'm also doing this same process on the rocker arms. I have no idea if these have to go on the same exact bits of the engine when reassembling, but it only takes a moment to organise it properly, and I'm taking no chances. Again, with the heads off, I'm making sure the bolts are going in the exact same holes they've come out of. And with that, the top end was done, so it was time to rotate this engine so we can get a better look inside, and I'm getting a bit nervous now.
Well, this is a big moment and it's got to the interesting part. We're now working on the bottom end of the engine, which is where we should find out once we remove this cover and I think some oil strainers, etc., just some oil related bits. We should be able to find out if our crankshaft is good or not. Get those fingers crossed for me.
So it was all down to this. Once I remove this cover, I'll be able to see just how bad the damage was. How bad do you reckon it is at home? And I'll tell you, it wasn't what I was expecting. I said my prayers to the crankshaft gods. Remember, these are worth almost £4,000 plus VAT. If the crank is bad, it's gonna eat into my margins massively. With my mind solely on the crankshaft, I actually missed a couple of bolts on the inside of the sump, and trying to remove this, I ended up breaking the windage, but I soon discovered this was the least of my problems.
There she is. One big hole. You can have a look down here as well. This is all completely chewed up as well. And I'm sure if I look at this side again, this engine, unfortunately, is toast. And I'm just trying to get this piston out because this is the one that's broken, or conrod, sorry. And yeah, I've just discovered that it's actually wedged on the cylinder. You can see here, see if I'll let me point right here, it's actually just wedged in there. So I can't even knock it out. Gee. But to be honest, if you throw a piston, from what I've seen online anyway, it's very, very rare that, from what I've seen anyway, that the engine block doesn't have a big hole in it. It seems pretty common. So yeah, I guess it's somewhat inevitable, but there we go. So I've hit a bit of a snag here, but what I've been doing is removing the pistons. So it is in order. So you can see this is the back of the engine, of the oil sump. So this indicates that this is the back left cylinder. So if I show you, that means it's for this hole here, and so on and so forth. And you can see I've been working my way through. I've hit a snag here because I've got this one loose, that's fine, but I can't get anything on that bottom one. So I just need to have a little think about how I'm going to get that out, because yeah, I can't even get it with sort of the adjustable sort of bendy bits. Great terminology. So yeah, I just need to have a think about it, and yeah, I've done a lot today. It's kind of fried my brain a little bit. We had near enough a whole engine at the start, and now we've got a block and some pistons and a crankshaft. And by the way, the crankshaft is looking good, which is good, because if the block's not good and the crank wasn't good, well then we would be really in trouble. But so far, it's all looking okay. So fingers crossed we at least have a good crankshaft. But yeah, gonna need to source a new block, and yeah, it's not gonna be cheap. So I've got a whole load of emotions going on right now, so it's probably not a bad time to end today and then come back to it the next day, fresh mind, fresh attitude. I'll have a real idea of how to remove that bolt, and we'll keep going.
So it looks like the crank was good, but the news was ultimately bad. A new engine block retails for around £8,000 plus VAT. So I had a lot of thinking to do.
Okay, well, you join me about a week later now. It's been my birthday week, so I've been otherwise preoccupied. But yeah, this is what I'm thinking. So I've got the engine flipped the other way around, and as you can see here, the piston is just wedged, or sorry, the rod is just wedged between both cylinders. I've tried to hit it with a hammer, everything, and it's not moving whatsoever. Now, we already know this block is no good.
If I could get my angle grinder in there, that'd be the obvious one. Just cut a little bit more of that rod off and away it would come. But it's obviously not going to fit there. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to try and get my little sander in there and just to sand off just enough so that we can actually get that metal bit or the bit of the con rod free away from the cylinder. So that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm going to try next. But I'm not too confident about this. This process honestly took around 40 minutes, but as you can see, bit by bit, I was able to file it down until eventually...
Oh, voila! It's free! Easy.
And that was not easy. In the end, I had to use the crowbar to free it, but yeah, it should be out now, so let's get it out. Surely, with the rod now out, this crankshaft should spin, right? Well, it didn't, and on further inspection, it seemed like the flywheel was catching on the engine stand. As I said at the start of the video, I should have removed the flywheel first, but yeah, we live and we learn, like I said. So I hoisted the engine up in the air, away from the stand, and sure enough... Alright, well, turned out I was right. Turned out this flywheel was getting caught on the engine stand. So yeah, disconnected it, and now this is quite nice to see. Well, it spins now, no problem. Obviously, I've removed the bad piston. There you go. So, okay, it's stripped down, but it's still nice to see the engine able to turn over with that rod no longer wedged between two of the cylinders. It feels like I've achieved something, weirdly. Whilst I had the engine hoisted, I figured I might as well undo the bolts for the rods so they can be loosened with my fingers eventually. Okay, so all those screws are now undone. I can actually get a good angle on them and get them undone. No problem. So next up is basically the flywheel. Get that off, get the rest of these pistons out, take the crankshaft out, and then we've basically got the exposed engine block. Now, as I mentioned before, this is now a week on. So I've actually been doing a little bit of work already on trying to find all the new parts I need, most notably an engine block. I mean, I can confirm now the crankshaft is fine. You're seeing it spin freely, no problem at all. And everything I'm looking at seems absolutely fine. Unfortunately, that's all I've got time for today. I've just got 1,001 things going on, but it's looking pretty good here. Those last bits I can just do off camera at the start of the next episode just to quickly show you, but shouldn't take too long to do. And then it's just a case of actually just starting to buy all the parts that I need, wait for them to arrive and go from there. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I've sourced an engine block and I think I've been a bit crafty there. So I look forward to explaining that one to you. And in the meantime, for this engine block, I've been actually getting some quotes to make it into a coffee table, just to have sort of some legs protrude up the top here and just make it into, yeah, a glass coffee table with that as the base. So yeah, not all is lost for here. But anyway, that's the end of this episode. I hope you're happy with the progress. Like I said, it's been my birthday week, so I haven't actually done really any work this week. But we're back to it properly next week, and we should be in a position where we might start to put this engine back together, depending on how long it takes to source all the parts and for them all to come. In the meantime, we obviously have some work we can be doing on the Mustang in the background as well, so plenty to come. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, bye-bye.